See here, we synced up. We're synced up, ladies and gentlemen. We are synced up. Looks like the YouTube is live, although I don't have a visual. Oh, there I am. There, that's good. That's always good. Hope you're doing well where you're at. Lots of craziness going on in the world today. I'm gonna give CouchBot just a second to fire a slightly later edition of the feedback loop, although I kind of did it in reverse this morning. I've been providing a lot of feedback for students prior to launching this morning. It was kind of interesting. One of the things that caught my attention is Nine Inch Nails, popular industrial rock band. They've released a mask that you can change out the messages on the faceplate so people can see what your mood is. I thought that was very interesting because you can't, when you're wearing a mask, and oddly enough, I don't have one handy here in my office because I don't mask up at home. But you can't see your emotions, so they've tried to address that problem by having little Velcro things that you can slap on and off the mask. I thought that was interesting. I do wonder, like, how long do they maintain their Velcro-iness, their that tactile, does it wear out at some point? I have no idea. I did think it's interesting though. Go check out Discord if you actually. I can't say that because you're not all members of the program, but over in Daily Stand Up, I saw that Eve has included a picture of her loaf cat. I'll just share my screen really fast so we can all enjoy the loaf catness. Loaf cat over here in Daily Stand Up. Let's go look at the cat. Aw, what is the cat sitting on? Is that a mouse? Well, I mean, of course it's a mouse because it's a cat, but it's like the cat is covered with like a controller and like it's almost like that's part of the Nintendo Wii or something. So I'm not sure what's happening there, Eve, but your cat is definitely at home there. Is that a desk pillow next to your computer? It's always interesting. All right, let's hop back over here. And where did OBS go? Ah. All right. Enough loaf cat. Let's get this underway. Looks like CouchBot has fired the curious side slant face. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here. New Pragmatics. Time for the feedback loop. Got a few things in this morning. Katie's here, Maddie's here. I've got some stuff for Luigi that I'm going to share with the group because we're going to start talking about media queries and importing fonts and I'm just workshopping a lot of front end stuff now and trying to get that information out. So I wanted to include that here this morning. But with that said, let's go ahead and get this underway. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So right away, we've got Maddie's updated not prototype, but a portfolio. And one of the things I noticed, Maddie, in going through this, like obviously, like a lot of this work is much better, great spacing here. I thought that overall this is working very well. I did notice this though. Like when the nav bar comes back down, like and again to trigger this, you have to kind of pull down and then it appears. But it's so dark. It's I'm not sure where this is being triggered from, but I definitely would come in and look at, okay, can I make this background color lighter? Can I reverse out the text? Like something needs to happen here to make this more accessible because that over here is just very hard to read. But as we come down, I did also notice like over here on the I like the fact first of all, I just like the fact that you have a couple of different gears here. Like here are here's a big project, select it works. Here's a couple of smaller projects, and here's some other projects. I like that progression. Okay, like that. Um, However, when we click on this, I'm anticipating this to open like in a new tab. Like put me over here somewhere off to the side so I can easily make it back to your portfolio. I never like it when I have to use the back button to get to your portfolio because I'm frankly afraid that people will forget like, hey, how did we get to this thing? And of course, I'm actually in Maddie's Squarespace instance. Oh, maybe that's the deal. Maybe this isn't like an. Let me just take a look at this real quick. Like if we edit this. Okay, so maybe you know what? It's probably opening in a different screen because it's actually part of this. It's part of the Squarespace AI or part of the Squarespace interface. So I shouldn't take that. It's just something to keep an eye out for. I did notice this though. You've got this in as an image, and I could not figure out for the life of me why this would be an image. Do we just not have an italic available for this secondary piece here? Also, this is where I would definitely go in and adjust the CSS to tighten these two elements up, because right now there's just a ton of space there. This cleaned up nicely. Otherwise, I feel like this is going pretty well. I did want to come in and take a look at. Click through. Let's go to settings. Yeah, okay. Actually, I would suggest doing that. I'm not going to save that. Well, actually, you know what? Well, no. I want you to be able to do that. Okay. So the link. Go into the link editor and determine whether you want that to open a new window or not. I would. I would only have it open a new window for external sites. Anything that's internal, like if I was clicking through to this business of baby food thing, I would definitely keep that like traditional flow. I would not have it jump out, but down here in that other down here, like anything that's linked externally, I would go ahead and make that adjustment. Here, going into Burt's Bees, I really feel like this is coming across pretty well. The one spot that I felt like could really use some work, and I want to pay close attention to what you've done here. All right. So you've got inference 1, inference 2, inference 3 kind of lined up underneath this image. I think there's something similar. By the way, in looking at this responsively, it's really clear like you've done some work here. So here you have option A and solution A, option B, solution B. Depending on how this is built, depending on how this is built, option A we tend to option A, option B, option solution A, solution B. The fact that you reordered these for mobile, I thought was pretty smart. Then as you come down here, these are the pages that I think could use the most work, mainly because as you look at them in mobile, what you'll find is that like this was a screen that was least likely to work in the desktop model, but this version just falls completely apart in mobile. And this is even worse. So what I would suggest doing is considering annotating these in a slightly different way. Keep in mind, I'm referencing this 3-column design that you have here at the top. I think you could do something similar down here, where basically you would use the image. The image doesn't have to be super big, but I would have the image, and instead of pointing, sorry, I keep like triggering that. Instead of pointing to these things, I would simply say A, B, C, D, and then I would have 4 blocks of text down here, A, B, C, D, so that it becomes responsive. Right now, this is all trapped inside of an image, and I think that is creating a huge problem for you when you go to mobile. The same thing is happening here, and again, if you said A, B, and then had A, B, and then said C, D, and then had C, D, you could do a 4-column design here and have it work, and then it could break into 2 and 2 for mobile. It's a bit more work. But it allows this text to live away from the image, and that's the big thing that I'm trying to get here for you. There's not a lot here that says, oh, this is because it's placed here, it's significantly more beneficial than if it was simply placed below and you just had noted the item. So I would look at that note. I would look at that notarization or annotation A, B, C, D rather than line. Okay. So those minor improvements I think could really push this forward. But overall, I think it's pretty good. Over here, I wanted to look at Katie's portfolio presentation. Different. Maddie's got a portfolio. Katie has a presentation. But Katie will have a presentation soon. One of the things I noticed here, and this was pretty secondary, notice like how it works. About us and locations are all online. Menu is just slightly north, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, why did that move north just a tad? It could be just a simple adjustment that's needed to be made in the component, but it is something that stood out. When we click, one thing I want to point out here is there's a menu. This whole nav bar drops, and there's something that happens when I click on this. See how now there's this big black line at the top? That's not there when I click on how it works. It moves back up. So there's some sort of adjustment that needs to happen here in your component on this particular page. It's not there. 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 It's not on cart because cart goes to a different presentation. But when you go to menu, it's there. Like, it's only there. So eradicate that issue. Okay. Otherwise, you gave me some options here, and these are all functioning. I can go through. These are all. Katie's asked these questions, and your interface is working very well. I click cart, and it takes us through. And can we complete the cycle? Yes, we can. Card on file, and then come down and place the order, and there's your confirmation, and that all works just fine. And here you can get to your profile. The problem that I have, and you fixed harvest soup here. There was one spot where harvest soup was still misspelled. Where is it? Sorry, menu, popular. It's right there. Anyway, that's another spot where components would just having these as components. But it's so hard. It's like, where's the line? Where do you stop making everything a component? Anyway, this login flow. Like, if I go in, I log in, it says welcome Katie, and I go back to the menu, and I'm not logged in anymore. That flow is broken. What I would suggest doing is I would suggest coming in, Fresh Market Meals, have a copy of the home page. Have a copy of the home page that is apart from the rest of the site. Okay? And the whole purpose here is, I'm going to log in. Okay? So to get started, why don't you log in? Okay, I'll go log in. Logged in. Now I'm here. Now when I click back to menu, I should still be logged in. The goal here, and if I click back to Fresh Market Meals, I should be logged in. Like, the goal here is to create a separate flow that gets everybody logged in, and then once you're logged in, you're just logged in. Okay, you make it over that hurdle and you're done. This keeps you from going in and out of that logged in state while you're going through the prototype. It's just getting one step closer to real for the test user. That does not mean that you can't go through and say, hey, can you go into the menu and can you order a steak bowl and can you customize it and select double protein portion and pepper and add it to cart. Yeah, you can do all that without being logged in. You totally can do all that without being logged in. However, this part where you log in and you're logged in and then you come over here to how it works and you're not logged in, that's broken. Okay? That needs to be fixed. It should be something that you fix, period. I mean, you should just fix it. I've given you the map for how to fix it. It's just homepage, log in, and then once you've logged in, you go to the rest of the prototype that has you logged in every instance. All right? Just update the navs. You should be fine. Okay? All right. From there, I wanted to take a peek over here at Luigi's nav. Luigi's been working through some things, and you might have noticed, like, ooh, what's going on there? This is where I want to have a discussion about media queries, because media queries allow us to basically go through and dictate what our designs should do depending on the size of the screen that we're looking at. So as we come down, obviously, you know, we've still got to deal with this bit of responsiveness. But one of the things that we could do is we could just hide most of this information. Matter of fact, if I just wanted to say, if I want to say, you know, this, let's see here, I gotta look at how it's structured again. This nav UL. If I wanted to say nav UL is hidden under a certain size, I could just say nav. Oh, it says nav content UL display none. That's pretty easy, right? And then, you know, what you should notice is, like, you know, that, you know, there's nothing in between now, okay? And then when you come up, it's larger and it's red. Well, why is that happening? Well, that's because, and I'll copy this nav UL just for our usage. That's because down here I've written a media query, and I want to put it in line so you can see it a little easier. So it says media only screen and minimum width of 900 pixels. So at a minimum width of 900 pixels, which would be right about that big, turn this nav bar red. It could just as easily be green. It could be any number of things. And notice that within these brackets is where I've placed nav in nav brackets background color red. Underneath that, I'm going to add our nav content UL display, the thing that we just hid the unordered list. It says display none. If I want to say display block and bring that back, I can. Now, watch what happens when we go down. It went away. It comes back. Goes away, it comes back. That's because this media query is paying specific attention to the width, and it's saying at a minimum width of 900 pixels, do anything that is within these brackets. Okay? So if I said that I wanted this, you know, there were other things that were happening here as well. So nav content li had a, you know, you have this underline here, and at all sizes it's 10 pixels, and it does something crazy like that, which is not good design at all. But we could come back and we could say, hey, you know, nav content li, you know, we'll come back here, and instead of doing something on hover, instead of doing that on hover, instead of doing this border bottom, what we'll do instead is we'll say color or background color, and we'll just make this gray for right now. So on hover, I want this to turn gray, and you can see that's what it does. This is not, by the way, refined design at all. This is just seeing how media queries work. Now, this media query is written for 900 pixels. If I wanted to write a media query that was specific for tablets, so 768, I could do that just by creating another media query and targeting that size. Now, 768 is basically an iPad held vertically. 1024 is an iPad held horizontally. Everything that's happening below here should always be assumed that it's for mobile. And right now, this is very mobile first. It's very minimal. I'm adding content. I'm adding things as I go to larger sizes. Just so that we can see this in action, we'll say nav background green. And then what you'll notice is under 900 pixels, this now turns green. Notice the navigation, that block of content in the middle is also gone. And then once this goes below 768, it's back to gray. This is how media queries work inside of a cascading style sheet. One other thing I wanted to talk about this morning. So we've kind of covered media queries. We've talked about mobile first, then you adjust for tablets, then you adjust for desktops. That stuff does matter. I also want to look at contain, because contain on mobile should be really tight to the sides. Like really, like you don't need a lot of space to the sides on mobile, but you need a lot more size on contain when it gets to tablets. So that's where we'll bring this back in. And here we'll say, instead of 2, we'll say 10%. And we'll do the same thing for contain down here. But here we'll say 20%. So we're really starting to work with media queries now. What we should notice is on this nav bar, when we get the tablets, it notches in. See, it's moved in significantly from the side. Now it's green. It's going to move in even further when we get to desktops. Okay. Past that though, I also wanted to show you how to pull in new typography. So this is pulling in Montserrat, and it says root, font family, Montserrat, Open Sans, right? How is that happening? Well, to import typography, let's go over to Google Fonts. Google Fonts is right here. I want to go ahead and let's go grab some typography that we can really tell it's different. We'll grab Oswald, okay? And to get the parameters that are necessary to include these fonts, all you have to do is come in and select a style, and then look at the embed code. And in the embed, what you'll find is that you can put these CSS styles specific to the styles that you would include, and basically the import is it's simply just dropping this into your CSS. So instead of Montserrat, I'm going to drop in Oswald, and notice that it overrode Montserrat, and now we have Oswald. If we flip that around, it switches back to Montserrat. And this is the classic whatever was last comes first. whatever is last is displayed because it's a cascading style sheet. And what I'm not sure about is whether Oswald is really showing up there or that's just a sans serif. And it appears that is just a sans serif. So we got to go back and look at how Oswald is coming in. And I believe that we need this @import URL placed in here. And there it is. So @import, what this is really saying is, hey, go to this URL, grab this Oswald. It's giving it a specific weight, so @200. What I like to do here is I like to come back through and kind of look at, okay, what happens when I add these other styles? And you'll notice the URL over here gets longer because it has the family and then it's adding weight, pound 200, 300, 400, 500, and display swap. So what we could do here is if I wanted to really add, it says @weight 200, semicolon 300. If I wanted to add other weights, I could simply probably switch that out, and I've now added 500, and it just automatically switches that in. You just have to look at the syntax. I could also say 300, semicolon 500, and that's going to put both of those weights in. And I would simply just have to come down and say, okay, so for the P tag here, I'll say font weight 200, and that changes it to the lighter weight from the other. So just a little bit on typography, a little bit on media queries. We also covered this import tag now, so you're getting a better sense of how to pull typography in. You also know how to get that information, because if you remove the style, if you don't have anything selected, it will say, I don't know what to show you. So you have, one of the things that I've seen people do is they're like, how do I get those style? How do I get that? And how you get it is you come in and you basically select it, and then it will give you the ability to to embed that in your projects. Okay? All right. That's going to wrap it up for this morning's I should switch screens first. That's going to wrap it up for this morning's edition of the Feedback Loop. I hope this was beneficial for you. Thank you so much to Maddie and Katie for submitting work. Luigi, we're workshopping here, so I'm gonna just start throwing code at you at random because Maddie, Eve, and Luigi are all working into front end. Media queries are all things that we're going to be things that we're all going to be working with. Custom typography, all things we're going to be working with, and obviously cascading style sheets, all things we're going to be working with. So I'm going to keep layering that into the feedback loop as we move forward in the weeks to come. So keep an eye out, especially if those of you that are kind of following along and you just want to get better at utilizing HTML and CSS. I'm going to be sprinkling in a lot of nuggets along the way as we go. All right, without much further ado, I'm Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop. Thanks for joining.